Hi everyone, I interviewed my grandma who was born and raised in a small village in Turkey and migrated to Australia when she was 18 with her husband and her son at the time whilst being pregnant. I interviewed my grandma because I knew she had so much to offer and we live such different lives, yet we came from the same roots. And to my surprise, it was a lot I didn't know about her and myself. I really want to start this conversation about equity because I genuinely didn't know if she knew what that meant, but I knew that she would have had an opinion on it. So during our conversation, I asked her what she thought it meant, and because she isn't fluent in English, I interpreted to her what it meant. And I told her it wasn't about giving everyone the same resources, expect them to succeed. It was about providing each individual with what they need and tailoring success to them. As far as issues relating to equity in education, we spoke a little bit about what we thought could change. And I think our education system is getting better. However, we're still seeing situations that could be prevented. Having done some volunteering in classrooms, I soon realised that parents put a lot of pressure on educators when they believe there is an equality amongst all their children, and they don't necessarily understand the concept of equity. However, I don't think anything in the world will ever be equal for anyone. I read somewhere once that equality aims to promote fairness, but it can only work if everyone starts from the same starting point. However, no one realistically starts from the same starting point. You really have to look beyond that. No one just starts at prep. You have to investigate the prior history that got them to where they are today, no matter their age, their race, or anything that counters to that factor. However, from this conversation, I came to the realization that we present children an opportunity to exclude others because they are being treated differently in the classroom, or in order to have their individual needs met. But it really got me thinking, although we have the very best intentions on providing each individual child with equity over equality, our education system doesn't normalise children's differences and needs, whether that be cognitive development, language barriers, special needs children on the spectrum, and so forth. Whilst we have so much knowledge, support, and the resources to help these children to become the best versions of themselves they can be, the conversation to normalise these things amongst students doesn't happen enough. And that's when the opportunity for othering occurs. When children see that someone is being treated differently and the explanation isn't there, how can we expect them to understand? However, one thing we can do to avoid othering is be explicit and open to educating students about what happens beyond their own life and their own bubble. Educate them on what other people are experiencing or have experienced. If children aren't exposed to situations beyond their own life, how can we realistically expect them to be understanding to people's situations if we don't educate them or allow them an insight to others' lives? I read a piece from Service Learning and Social Justice that really resonated with me, and it said that students' self-awareness and awareness of others increase as they work with agencies serving diverse populations. So working with people from different ethnic or racial backgrounds, people living in poverty, or individuals with physical or mental challenges, initiates a student's exploration of difference, similarity, and diversity within inclusiveness. Students come to see people as individuals with their own stories rather than as statistics and stereotypes. Through these experiences, students recognize other ways of living and thinking, which encourages them to be more open-minded and to see the world from other perspectives. I started asking my grandma questions about her own education in order to understand how her identity was sort of influenced by schooling, where she fit in, etc. Now, growing up in a small village, she explained to me that they didn't have a school until she was 11 years old. I was blown away. That to me was so unreal. That's something that I genuinely didn't know. However, that conversation came with the most heartbreaking reality that she said she didn't have a sense of belonging or her own identity till she started school. Before school, she was just known by what was seen to the eye. However, being at school, her identity formed further than that. I asked why she thought that, just to see what she was thinking or the reasoning behind it. And she said her friends' influence changed in her. She became more than her parents' opinions and grew beyond their values and expectations. She belonged in a school community, and that changed who she was. I believe people have a core identity, and that's what you see on the surface. Their ethnicity, their values, appearance, etc. However, our identity runs far deeper than that. Our identity is constantly changing through experiences, and school being one of them. I think about my own school experience and how it shaped my identity. For example, my friends influenced me to develop certain qualities, some good, some bad. Identity, belonging, and inclusion are the biggest factors in determining how your schooling experience will be. When you feel like you're not included, then you feel like you don't belong. Then that weighs heavily on your attitude towards schooling. Imagine showing up to somewhere every day in order to gain an education, but you don't feel like you belong there. So that's going to have a negative impact on your education or your experience, really, compared to someone who rocks up to the same day and does the same routine you do, but they have a group of friends or a better relationship with teachers or better grades. That's genuinely going to impact their schooling experience on a positive note. Through our conversations, I learned how often I take what I have for granted. By being exposed to someone else's life gives me understanding on just how lucky I am, which ties back in with what I said about exposing children to other people's struggles. I understand other people's struggles and wish I had known what I do now when I was younger and at school. I feel like I would have been more open-minded. I wish I knew everyone was going through their own struggles and their own journeys. And I now know that school has the biggest impact on a child growing up. They grow beyond their families and their families' beliefs, because realistically, a child is not born racist. A child isn't born mean. Look, a child isn't even born a kind person or a smart person or any other characteristic you can think of. It's all developed with their surroundings and influences being the biggest factors. And school being one of the biggest parts of a child's life. Those years are so crucial to developing their personality. My schooling experience would have been different if I surrounded myself with different people, or if I even went to a different school. If I was to redo my schooling years over and over, starting from right through to year 12, I believe it would have been a different outcome every single time. And a different season every time.